I am Great Mother, Holy Spirit, Yin, Divine Mother, Cosmic Womb, Deep Space, the Moon, Dark Matter, the Void, the Black Hole, Hathor, Isis, Diana, Mami Ishtar, Kali, Mammy, and Mother Mary. Hello, welcome to Great Mother Speaks. I'm Tammy Taylor, your Manifestation Muse, and today...
You know, when you're learning an entirely different culture and you don't speak the language, there's a surrender to knowing there's a limitation to how much you're going to actually be able to absorb. Because the nature of learning and the authenticity of integrating the information is compromised. And so as a result, you just make a truce with yourself that I'm going to get out of this what I need to get out of this. And that is the truth that I've made with myself with Vedic astrology. And so I say that because it's timely with this Pisces full moon in Shatabisha Nakshatra. I always remember Shatabisha Nakshatra because Nakshatra, see, there we go. It's different culture, different language, and, struggling to pronounce and everything. But Spirit always gives us what we need. And what I need is to remember the essential elemental truth of these constellations. There are 27 of them. Shatabisha is at the end of Aquarius and the beginning of Pisces. And so we're in a Pisces full moon in both the Western and the Vedic. But it's important in the Vedic to look at the nakshatras, particularly when we are talking about the moon. It's a lunar astrology, and these are lunar-based constellations. I always remember Shatabisha because when I first heard it, it sounded to me like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, those of you who are raised in the Baptist tradition like I was, you might recall who they are. They were the three wise brothers who would not bow down to the king of Babylon. And they were rewarded as a result. This is a great planetary fear at this time, to stand in one's truth of their divinity. And this nakshatra is such a powerful one because it speaks to the reward for doing so. And if you recall, they ended up being really high respected officials of Babylon because their God was leading them through all the trials and tribulations of not bowing down to this king. And everybody was like, what? He's going to kill you. He threw them into a fiery furnace. He didn't just throw them in jail, or he didn't just, have a death sentence where they were killed in some, way, that everybody could watch and be, even put on a cross like Jesus Christ. He threw them in a furnace, and Jesus came and walked them out. And so, all of this, we understand as mythology because we are so deep into what Great Mother says is and in translation from the Vedas too, is called, the Sea of Forgetfulness. It is not a judgment or condemnation. We came into this world for a reason. We are under the veil of forgetfulness for a reason. Forgetfulness of what? Of our divinity, in order for us to learn how to use our power. As a good parent, you give your child, a little leash, a little bit at a time as they demonstrate their ability to maintain their lives. As long as they're safe, well, then we can loosen up a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And that's how we grow. It's the same thing with us, as above, so below. So this nakshatra is all about feeling that power. And we're in an age where we're being so blessed with so many powerful downloads that if you are not in tune with your divinity, it's freaking people out. And so they're using it in different ways. For example, we were talking about an MDT support group about how all of the mass murders and things that are going on, it's really about a confusion that people are having internally. It has nothing to do with the external world. That's our first impulse, is to externalize everything that's happening. Oh, it's because of this, it's because of politics, it's because of that. No, 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 no. All war begins within. And the inner war is, as Great Mother, through the Great Mother Speaks Oracle deck, guides us through a rebirth and a regeneration of our divinity, through the release of MDT identity, the shame, blame, and guilt of the abandonment and abuse of our birth mothers. We have to, as individuals, undergo this internal rebirth. And what is rebirth? Rebirth is a death of the old self. And so just like everything else, instead of sitting with that, we go into addiction, which is just another word for pain avoidance. We go into drug addiction, sex addiction, or just addiction to trying to control others, which the ultimate expression of that is murderous behavior, whether it is through the spoken word or through action, which we can also use as a very powerful, loving tool, action and the spoken word, to uplift and to encourage through the signs and symbols, just as the signs and symbols through this Vedic astrology, whether I understand Hindu or I understand Sanskrit or not, Spirit is going to give me what it needs to give me in order to use me as a vehicle to speak to whoever needs to hear what it's saying. For those who do want to go through this rebirthing process and going through the fire, as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did, they had to prove to themselves that they were worthy to rule Babylon. They were just humble believers in God. And that's what is meant by the meek shall inherit the earth. The humility goes through an experience of gaining the wisdom of knowing that it has a value to the world. And that's what this transition from the Piscean age of the Christ consciousness into the Aquarian age, which is about embodying the Christ consciousness as individuals. We live Christ consciousness as individuals. We live what he taught as individuals. In other words, we dance to the beat of our own drum, just like he did. He just showed us an example of how he did it, how he embraced his divinity and believed in his God, despite the, what they call them, the Sadducees, the Pharisees and the Sadducees were against him. The high priests were against him and his teaching of the great Father. And so we are coming into that, and Great Mother, Father God are injecting us and the planet with the power to do it. But if we don't know what we're being injected with, we are interpreting it as fear because we are so filled with fear due to this sea of forgetfulness that we're in that has got us in this addiction to external manifestation of Great Mother, Father God, as opposed to the internal. So this is all about us connecting with that during this season. The full moon is in Pisces in both the Western and in the Vedic astrology. And as we know, Pisces is the teetering, tottering slope that we walk between delusion and enlightenment, between self-deception and self-awareness. The Leo new moon, Great Mother, did an extended introduction about what this season leading up to January 2020 is all about. So if you want to check that out, there is a link in the information box below. This full moon, Great Mother wants to bring our attention to the Vedic aspect of this season with this full moon in Pisces in the Vedic and in the Western. Now, what's interesting is that in the Vedic astrology, Neptune, as opposed to in the Western astrology, being in Pisces at this time, creating a great deal of delusionment and difficulty with that dance, with awareness. In the soul astrology, are the cosmic astrology as opposed to the geocentric, earth-centric ego astrology that is basically the tropical astrology that's focused on our egoic experience, our ego reaction to life. In the soul astrology, we're actually looking at how, why, when, and for what purpose the soul incarnated. Neptune here is in Aquarius, and so this period of time has to do with what the collective consciousness is undergoing in terms of its internal dance between illusion and awareness around humanity, around what it wants to collectively contribute on a soul level to this transitional phase between the Piscean age and the Aquarian age. This is why this particular period is so intense. So what Great Mother wants to focus on in this introduction to your full moon Pisces reading is the idea that you, from a soul perspective, are looking toward the future at this particular time, or you're looking in the past at this particular time, at yourself, at your experience at this particular time. And you're either saying, wow, I am really living up to my greatest soul potential at this time to free myself from the bondage, from the attachment to forgetfulness of my divinity, forgetfulness of my soul essence, forgetfulness of my birthright to be happy, healthy, and whole. I am releasing myself from that forgetfulness. I'm doing my level best as a conscious being to do that. Or I am overwhelmed by the challenges of doing that. And either way, Great Mother is inviting us to receive the eternal grace and mercy that is available to us, particularly as the planet is experiencing the disorder of mama drama trauma, which this channel focuses on to heal. Mama drama trauma being that condition in which the mother projects unhealed aspects of herself onto the child, causing emotional and/or physical trauma. And in cases where she's unwilling, unable, and unavailable, she may have transitioned to heal her own MDT. Loving detachment is necessary for the child to live a happy, healthy, and whole life. In other words, for us to fully embrace our birthright to be happy, healthy, and whole. Living in loving detachment is necessary to do that. So the Great Mother Speaks Oracle deck was channeled for us to have a daily practice of releasing ourselves from that bondage of attachment to the toxic mama experience, the forgetfulness that the drama engenders about our divinity, and the trauma that we experience as a result, the dissociative experience from our soul that keeps us in bondage. So the opportunity this full moon is to, from the tropical perspective, look at the harvest of the year. This has been a very intense year with Saturn and Jupiter in retrograde and the eclipses that we've had in the most powerful in Vedic astrology nodal position of Gemini in the North Node and Sagittarius in the South, because it has to do with that human intelligence of the ego in the North Node evolving through awareness and the release of old attachments to old ways of connecting with the divinity, with that Sagittarius in the South, based on experience. Wisdom is based on experience, what we learn through our own experience, as opposed to the intelligence of Mercury, which rules Gemini, that is based on an ability, an ego ability to figure things out. And so they work well together when understood. But when wisdom is held as the greater virtue, then we actually are evolving. We actually are growing. And so with Sagittarius being in the South Node, conjunct Saturn, conjunct Pluto, we have this opportunity to do a tremendous amount of release of old spiritual beliefs and practices that no longer work for us, such as toxic beliefs about sin, the idea that we are separate from God. That is a very old religious teaching. And it no longer serves us as we move into an Aquarian age that is about being very clear about our divinity. Now, speaking of clarity about divinity, not everyone survives deity initiation. And that is what we're talking about. Let us be clear. We are talking about divinity initiation, an initiation into a conscious ego-soul alignment. So this full moon is an illumination with regard to where you are with that. Great Mother wants you to be very clear about where you are in relationship to that, in relationship to your soul and what your soul wants to do at this particular time about that in your life as it relates to mama drama trauma, the foundation of all relationships in your life. In our relationships, just like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, who is the poster child of mama drama trauma, each card is based on a scene in the Wizard of Oz. Along that yellow brick road journey, that hero's journey to embracing our divinity, that journey, that rites of passage to deity initiation. Because, of course, when we return home, we return to peace. We return to our true self. So this return to self requires a rebirth. It requires this dark night of the soul, which for us, being mama drama trauma, most of the planet, most people won't admit it. It is a taboo subject. But during the Aquarian age, it will become more and more prominent as an issue to be addressed. There's a reason there's an increase in suicides. There's a reason there's an increase in drug addiction. All of these are just forms of pain avoidance. And this is what is meant by not everyone survives deity initiation. Many people do not believe because they do not know that they're divine beings. They think because of the attachment to forgetfulness, attachment to the illusion of this experience, and we incarnate into this material experience in order to have the veil over our eyes, as Dorothy had the veil, the believing that Oz was the god of all gods, until she took the witch's broom, which taught her that she had the power to take her power back from an idea of an externalized God. Great Mother, Father, God is us, within us. And this is a scary thought for a culture from a planetary collective consciousness that believes it's separate from God. That's a scary thought, let alone something to integrate into one's consciousness. So we are what the Christ called a peculiar people. We know that we are in this world, but we are not of it. And so this is a little spoken word that is payment and homage to what Great Mother is inviting us to do in terms of looking at this placement of where we are. Consciousness ascends and consciousness, it forgets. We evolve. The Kundalini awakens and the Kundalini goes to sleep. We are living, breathing beings who we have periods of active conscious awareness and growth and periods of rest and fallowness, just like the soil. So that's why we learn first and foremost about our divinity identity, that we are dearly loved children of the great Mother, Father, God, who are never judged, condemned for that. Because just like the seasons, that's just like saying, in the Northern Hemisphere, we're, slowly moving into fall, although the planet is heating up and is on fire and all of these things that are happening because of our forgetfulness. There's no judgment or condemnation. There is awareness. There's a difference. And it's a very important distinction to make. There is awareness that what we're doing is either fortifying the experience of our divinity or it is detracting from it. And we get to make the free will choice. Some say, and particularly in Vedic astrology, that we do not have free will. But it is said within the context, I would hope, I understand the belief of no free will within the context of we are given the choice in our experience. We get to experience making choices so that we know if we choose to go into the direction of what does not reinforce our divinity, such as burning down the rainforest and therefore setting our entire environmental equilibrium off, is not beneficial. We get to experience that so that we learn it. Again, wisdom being the hallmark of divinity. We learn through experience, which is why we're not judged or condemned. It doesn't make sense to believe in a God that judges and condemns you for coming here to have experience. How can you have experience if you don't get to choose? So in this life, we do get to choose. It's just that in the arc of eternity, there is just one consciousness, and that is the consciousness of love. And that is what they're talking about. And since it's difficult for most people to even grasp what is being discussed here, they just go ahead and jump to the end of the story that there is no free will. It's all, love. But step by step, yes, within lifetimes, that's how we gain experience. That's how we gain wisdom about what love is. We have to learn it through experience. Great Mother's inviting us to recognize at this particular stage in our lives with this Pisces full moon in both the Western and in the Vedic, what we are choosing. Are we choosing to go away from our divinity, feeling and experiencing being dearly loved, never judged or condemned, or left alone? Or are we continuing to engender those experiences, such as mama drama trauma, in particular here with your full moon reading, that you are detracting from that experience? Which one is it? Because within this season, there are a lot of transits that are being discussed. And one specifically with the Vedic, just like Great Mother in her extended introduction, with the Pluto-Saturn conjunction in the Western astrology that has captured the imagination of astrologers. In the Vedic astrology, we are having the Gemini move from Purnavasu into Ardra Nakshatra. And we're having Sagittarius move into Mula, which is the center of the cosmos. It's the nakshatra that is the center. It's the heart, the cosmic heart of the cosmos. It is Great Mother. It is the primordial womb. And so the primordial womb is going to receive for us what we are willing, ready, and able to release. And so that's why Great Mother is wanting us to know at this particular time, those of us who are working with releasing mama drama trauma, the blame, shame, and guilt, feeling the cause, feeling that we can cure, feeling that somehow we can control mama drama trauma, and releasing all of that dysfunction is going to be tremendously supported, especially as we have in November Jupiter moving into Sagittarius as well. So lots and lots of cosmic support for us. The spoken word that I would like to share with you is this: child, mother, father, teacher, parent, scholar, a pence, a pound, a dollar, a month, a day, an hour. Years, decades, scores. Work, hobbies, chores. A house, a window, a door. Beginning, middle, end. Whole, half, empty. Physiology, biology, anatomy. Plants, seeds, soil. Sun, rain, earth. The planetary galactic search. Olmec, Toltec, Aztec, Cholula, Pyramid, Sphinx. Ego, soul, spirit, the initiation, communication, conduit. Maya 2012, the whole world, into it. Crazy, sane, normal, casual, everyday, formal. The known, unknown, and unknowable. Mystery, intrigue, certainty. Past, present, future. Galaxy, planet, light year. Stellar procession, sacred. Man, woman, offspring. Bound, insecure, free. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Night, noon, morning. Sacred, science, faith. Time, space, location. You are blessed, wanted, needed. Breathe, inspire, intention, purpose, reason. Cave, hut, house. Master, worker, slave. Moon, stars, sun. 3, 2, 1. Eternal divine self. Present, future, past. First, late, last. Dawn, day, sunset. And these are your Pisces. Shatabisha full moon readings.
Aquarius moon sign people, Shatabisha Nakshatra begins in your sign at about 24 degrees and it ends at about 6 degrees in Pisces. So you will feel this the most if you have your moon Nakshatra in Shatabisha. And so what Great Mother is saying to you about being aware of this expansive period, your awareness, what she's saying that she is really pointing to with regard to being clear about the difference between self-judgment, self-condemnation, and awareness is that the work that you're doing around MDT, shame, blame, and guilt is still an ongoing process for you. And you need to be aware that even if you are in a state where you are living beyond MDT, so to speak, you're still needing to acknowledge its existence in your life. Maybe your siblings, maybe in your coworkers, heck, the world at large. MDT is a planetary disorder. So what we have here is a moon sign that is ruled by Saturn, which is the planet that rules the root chakra. And we have a spread that is predominantly root chakra energy. So your shadow position is the acknowledge card, the A and the aspire. What do we aspire to do? We aspire to let go of the mother that we want in order to accept the one that we have. That is what the acknowledge suit is all about, is acknowledging the reality of MDT's activity in our lives, what it is creating, what our MDT-oriented mentality is creating, which is a feeling of being unloved, being judged and condemned and left alone, abandoned and abused, which is the opposite of divinity identity. Acknowledging that those thoughts are active is very important because our emotions, which is what the lunar energy is all about, the egoic emotion and how it lines up with the soul intuitive space, that all-knowing eternal space, we have to first really look at where we are emotionally, and our emotions are what we think about our feelings. And so when we feel that way, when we feel unloved, when we feel judged, condemned, and left alone, you want to, this full moon, Aquarius, be in a space of acknowledging those emotions, because it's in your shadow position. There's still some denial around its activity in your life. And I would say that if you were listening to this message, obviously you are aware that MDT is active in your life, which leads me to say that what Great Mother is indicating here for many of you is that the acknowledgement is now necessary in other aspects of your life. The present situation, your present condition with regard to this acknowledgement is Kali. There's a fear. There's a fear to really admit that this is a pervasive ailment. This is a pervasive disorder. That's what planetary disorder means. And that can be a scary thought when you have the energy of really wanting to heal the planet, because it is quite overwhelming. And so the fear card with Kali, the root chakra first quarter moon card, is a fear that is willing to be faced. You're willing to face it, but because of the fear, you haven't faced it. But at this full moon, you're at a place where you are willing. Does that make any sense? Up to now, you have not. But your present condition is that you are willing to face the challenge of acknowledging that MDT, shame, blame, and guilt is active in your life. For example, you may have been doing your healing work, yet your relationship with your children may still be quite challenging because you instilled MDT, shame, and blame and guilt in them. And so it's a whole nother healing process to work with them. But you're willing, because I'm seeing that in the recent past, there's a Sulis card. There's some wellness. There's heart chakra energy here. And we always have that with our children, don't we? There's this openness as long as we're honest, as long as we're truthful, as long as we come with an integrity. Now, if we have had a history of not being integritous, then it's going to be a while before those walls come down. You know, they have those walls up for a reason, just like you've had your walls up for a reason. In acknowledging the pervasiveness of MDT in your life, there's a reason that you've had those boundaries up. And we do go into self-protection, self-medication, etc., 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 in an attempt to self-mother. But once we learn more healthy ways of self-mothering through our identification with divinity, this is a whole nother process that ensues. And in your recent past position of Sulis, the full moon heart chakra card indicates you've been doing work around this that you may not be aware of, but that this full moon will bring to your awareness. If not consciously, definitely intuitively, which is probably why your present condition is that you are open to this healing. Now, the present dance that you're doing with all of this is root chakra energy of the birth mother soulmate card. This crescent moon energy is planting a new seed. So you, as the birth mother of your children, or your relationship to your birth mother physically or emotionally, whether you are in close proximity or she has transitioned or you were adopted or whatever that bond looks like for you, the birth mother card showing up in the dance position is that dance, that Piscean dance that we're doing between delusion and awareness. And so the awareness that you have at this point, Aquarius moon sign people, about that relationship is your personal truth, and you need to plant that seed about what that truth is. So if the truth is that she is unable, unwilling, and unavailable to give you the emotional support that you need to feel loved, that is a truth that is a definite part of your soul contract, and that needs to be acknowledged. If you have been a mother due to your own MDT experience that has been unavailable, not ready, and unwilling to be emotionally supportive to your own children, then acknowledging that is what is going to give you the voice that you need, which is a higher chakra. And we are acknowledging we're working mostly here with heart below chakra energies. In this reading, I see, again, root chakra. I see gut chakra. I see second chakra. You do have 2 third eye cards, and you do have a law card here and a throat chakra card. But the dominant energy in this 15 card spread is heart below energy. And so although we're talking about energy to ground you with a very strong sense of standing your ground with where you are now in your healing process, dancing with soulmate energy with regard to your mother bond is a definite message from Great Mother to check in with where you are with your relationship with your mother and own the truth of it. Check in with where you are in relationship to your children and own your truth about it, because by doing that, you will be able to articulate more honestly where you are with it and how you feel about it and how you want to feel about it and where you want to go from here moving forward. Remember, we're all in a transitional phase here, because your present expectation, what you're expecting from this full moon energy that is supporting you to work more deeply with acknowledging MDT, is Adi Shakti energy. This is second chakra, waning gibbous moon energy of the primordial womb. This is really going to be activated at the end of September when Sagittarius goes into Mula Nakshatra, which is the constellation at the center of the cosmos. Okay, and so this is the womb of Great Mother that the South Node K2 is moving into, which is going to be a tremendous support in releasing those addictive behaviors that have been unhealthy ways of self-mothering, ways of pain avoidance that have not been beneficial or that have not asserted your divinity, things that have taken you away from it and have instead asserted MDT, shame, blame, and guilt. That's the Adi Shakti energy of the second chakra. Your true desire, you are truly expecting at this time in your life to be supported in moving forward with your divinity identity. You're not expecting this to be an easy path. You are expecting to be supported, however. You are fully expecting support, and you are fully receiving it as you stand in your truth, as Great Mother is suggesting that you do. And Aquarius, you don't have a problem doing that. You do that quite well, in fact. The present, right now, just the present, where you are just kind of presently, is you're in the state of rebirth and transformation. You are dealing with throat chakra energy, speaking your higher will, living according to your higher truths. Again, checking in with the truth of who you are as a birth mother to your children. Maybe you've had to give up your children for adoption. Maybe you are not the direct caregiver of your children. Maybe your children have been taken away. Maybe you would rather not have had children because of what you've gone through. And if you could have made a different choice, you would have. And all of these silent prayers that we have, of course, MDT is a taboo subject anyway, but that's why Great Mother speaks to us through it to remind us that we're dearly loved. You are going through a rebirthing process in which you know this, Aquarius moon sign people, and you know it not just on an intellectual level or, leave me alone, I'm a big girl, I'm a big boy level like that, but really where you are embracing it in a self-loving way, which is the soul contract of MDT, to evolve in self-love and spiritual independence. And so you're not judging yourself as much. You're not condemning yourself as much. You are expressing your divinity more in your life. And if you're not, this full moon energy that is supporting you to be clear about your awareness as opposed to focusing on the condemnation is going to get you there by the balsamic moon, which is the moon phase right before the new moon. So you have this entire a month of September to really adjust yourself. There were some new moon wishes that probably really refine what Great Mother was saying as far as this particular lunar cycle. Of course, I don't remember what they were for Aquarius moon sign people, but this balsamic moon rebirth is having me refer to that for you. You might want to look at what those new moon wishes were at the end of your Aquarius new moon reading and see if anything resonates with you in terms of the arc of this cycle as the full moon arrives. Because in the let go position is Kuan Yin. Kuan Yin is the compassion, the heart chakra crescent moon card. And you need to let go of anything that is preventing you from having self-compassion. That is so important right now. The self-love, the self-nurturing, as you are regrounding yourself through the truth of where you are in relationship to your MDT soul contract. What is the essential dynamic in your relationship? Is it, I feel unloved by my mother because fill in the blank. I'm never welcomed. I'm never supported. I'm always competed with. I'm always questioned. I'm always criticized. It's going to be unloved, judged, condemned, or left alone. And that is divinity identity, letting go of the mother that we have, that we want in order to accept the one we have, is letting go of the desire, the expectation that our mother be anything other than she is, other than who she is, and accepting the person, the woman that she is, a woman with MDT. And accepting the mother that we have is also accepting Great Mother. So the Kuan Yin card is encouraging you to plant the seed of self-compassion through this process of accepting the mother that you have. What is expected in your center card position is Tara. You are expected, your collective consciousness as Aquarius moon sign people, there's a true sense of you coming together, body, mind, and soul with your MDT experience, and that you have been guided to return to a place of equilibrium and a place of peace. Whether you've experienced it in this lifetime or in another lifetime, it is calling to you, and you fully expect to get there. On the one hand, while acknowledgement being the first step is just the beginning of the journey, on the other hand, in many ways, it is the most difficult part of the journey. Most people never acknowledge MDT because the denial is so strong. The denial is so strong because most people simply cannot deal with the pain. It's very excruciating to deal with it until we understand that we were born to not only deal with it, but to survive it, to live beyond it. And you're fully expecting there to be alignment with that. There's a sense of gratitude for the journey that's emerging for you. There's a sense of sharing your journey with others as well. This throat chakra energy of rebirth, that divine expression. Some of you may be actually creating some artwork or poetry, or beginning your own coaching work, or just being a good aunt, being a good uncle, talking to younger people in the family about aspects of the disorder and how to be more self-loving and how to take care of themselves, as opposed to projecting their needs onto family members that are unable, unwilling, unavailable to hold and to care for them in the way that they need. just because we are not loved in the way that we need to be loved by a particular individual does not mean that we are not worthy of it. It just means that we need to own that we are worthy of it, and it will be forthcoming from a different source. Your hidden influences is that raw waxing gibbous moon energy. This is third eye energy, and you got some strong third eye energy here with Tar and Ra. This centering that's going on, you're doing this because you are getting rewards. That's why you're thankful. You're getting little signs of encouragement along the way, bills that you thought you wouldn't have the money to pay. All of a sudden you're getting things done. You're getting extra money, you're getting extra validation and appreciation from others. You're getting that love from other sources, and you weren't expecting to, but you're beginning to, because you are now having diverted your focus and your attention on trying to demand love from the mother that you want, that fantasy mother, be it your actual birth mother or your adoptive mother or your spouse or whoever you're projecting these maternal needs onto. You have diverted that focus onto yourself, and you've been giving yourself the love, and this has opened up a whole new space for you to receive, and you are receiving. You are being rewarded in ways that you have never even expected. And as a matter of fact, you're embodying a sense of pleasure. So for many of you, this reading is really looking like it's just a confirmation that yes, despite the craziness of everything, you are a testimony to the fact that you can survive MDT. And yeah, there are things that will continue to come at you. Yes, there will be a need to continuously acknowledge MDT active in the world and be vigilant with your boundaries and that sort of thing to protect your peace. But for many of you with this Hattar New Moon Pleasure Principle card, second chakra, it's all about you really pursuing those things in life that bring you pleasure, that bring you meaning, and that make you feel that life is worthwhile. You go, Aquarius moon sign people. In the immediate future position is Moses, and this is learning to live the law. And so as you move out of, for many of you, this highly personalized space of healing MDT, and you move into that natural Aquarian water bearer space of sharing your bounty with others, there's another level of living the law, and the law is ego soul alignment. Now that you have done and you've practiced that within yourself, as you share with others, you will also be matching their level of reception with what you give. In other words, people can only meet us where they are. And I think this is what Great Mother is saying to you with regard to this reading now. I think I see that what she's saying to Aquarius moon sign people is that your issue now with regard to awareness versus self-criticism and self-judgment is that although there are still challenges with that, your awareness has grown to such a point that you can manage it. You can manage your triggers. They no longer are becoming tailspins necessarily, because all is well, and you do have a strong sense of that. She wants you to develop that more with more self-compassion and acknowledging things that you may not have acknowledged about your own personal MDT, so that you are further healed and you have the capacity to further heal others. You will recognize who is able, willing, and available to meet you where you are. When people are not able to, like say the example we gave with siblings or other members of your family that are affected by MDT, it is a family disorder. If they're not able to receive what you have to say, you just automatically know they're not ready, willing, or available. People can only meet us where they are. And so that's what the Moses card is. You will begin to more lovingly and more compassionately recognize where people are, because you have done the work to recognize and more compassionately honor where you are. And so that's why during this full moon, Great Mother's really wanting you to focus on that for you. So your advice is the Isis card, root chakra, full moon card. And remember, root chakra is ruled by Saturn, which rules Aquarius in the Vedic. And so this very strong message from Great Mother about you grounding yourself through acknowledgement. And A is for acknowledgement. In Aspire, there are 6 suits based on ASPIRE. Isis is the full moon phase of self-mothering. The advice to you this full moon is self-care, self-love, self-forgiveness first. So before you do anything for anyone, of course, you're going to be doing things for others. But before you do, your needs must be met. In other words, no doing an errand for someone or taking care of something for someone and you're hungry, or running to pick up something or do something and you haven't had a break all day or a rest and you need to just take a shower and just kind of deflate for a minute and just veg out. And no holding back on that. Not that that is necessarily a challenge, but Great Mother is saying that this is really needed right now for you to tune in to that self-compassion to the degree that you need to further absorb deeper areas of healing that need to happen in your life. The possible outcome as a result of following Great Mother's advice is that you may experience a great deal of frustration. You may bring up a lot of suppressed anger as a result of this acknowledgement with the Sekhmet card. You may have a sense of a great deal of righteous indignation with regard to how others have treated you, and there being a new awareness, speaking of awareness, of how you truly have been abandoned, abused, neglected, and rejected. And again, there's a reason that we live in denial. The pain is very deep. And so each level of healing, we go deeper and deeper. And so as a result of you following the guidance of this reading, those things are going to come up. Expect them to. It's very likely that they will. But remember, you are in a process of aligning body, mind, and soul. You're being rewarded for this work. You're not being left out on a limb for doing it. It's just that it has to be done. We have to go through the fire, root chakra. We have to ground ourselves before we can walk in the world in a healthy way, fully. Okay. And so those things that come up, but you want to allow them to come up with the perspective that you are in a process of release, of grieving the mother that you want in order to accept the one you have. You are fully in that process of letting go. You're processing all this. This is the P in the Aspire, the gut chakra suit. You are processing all of these emotions. And so when they come up, just remember, you have activated this process in order to completely grieve. You don't want to have all that stuff suppressed under the surface for it to be triggered at an inappropriate time, or that sort of thing, when you thought everything was okay and then just out of the blue, all that stuff. That doesn't have to happen when we take charge based on who we know we are from our divinity, dearly loved divine children of the Great Mother, Father God, who were never judged, condemned, or left alone. We process things in an empowered way. And so look forward to that. Look forward to that processing journey and what the anger has to tell you as it comes up, because it's been there for a long time and we have not looked at it. And so when it comes up, look at it and say, why are you so angry? Well, I'm mad because I have never gotten the emotional support I deserve. I've never gotten it. And now that you can see it through the light of your divinity, you can see that you have had it all along through the mother that you have, Great Mother, and even your birth mother, who on a soul level has insisted through her behavior that you evolve in self-love in order for you to experience love at all. So we're always supported. It's just that acquiring divinity identity allows us to see it. In other words, gives us the awareness to shift our thoughts about how we feel. That doesn't mean that you still won't feel the anger, but your thoughts about the anger evolve to, I have gotten the support that I needed. The support that I needed was to evolve in self-love. And that's exactly what I needed to do that, because I was not going to get that from her. And doing this work, your most likely outcome is the law of ego form and manifestation. This is sixth chakra energy. This third eye energy is so powerful in your reading, Aquarius. And Akhenaten was the singular earth ruler who implemented the worship of the one God. Before Akhenaten, civilizations were polytheistic. And so the one God has to do with that ego soul alignment. It has to do with that great mother father God energy, that primal energy, yin yang energy that is within all of us, and honoring that as the deity that it is. We're all connected, and this universal energy, this double yin single yang energy, is an energy of great mother intuitive download about this universal unity. And acting on that awareness, acting on the awareness of our divinity. That is your outcome for doing this work, is that you will be working from this very high sense of intuitive download and acting on that in ways that you have never done before, in ways that will not only heal you, but continue to heal others and the planet. Thank you so much for the loving work and your loving intentions for yourself and for the world. And remember, above all and most of all, Great Mother loves you. And I do too.
Great Mother speaks. I am Great Mother, Holy Spirit, Yin, Divine Mother, Cosmic Womb, Deep Space.